Hey guys, this is Mutalisks, and we are going to be doing a new segment for the Get Wired to StarCraft show, where I basically take my ladder games and pick it apart, kind of like what our normal show is, except a little bit more condensed and a little bit more accessible on the YouTubes. So today it's going to be a ZVP on Scrap Station. The red Protoss over here is Faceless, and I will be the Zerg in the upper left. So real quick, on Scrap Station, because the distance is so long and the ramp is so wide, the Protoss player is typically going to want to send out a very early scout, because if there are Zerglings coming in or it's a fast Zergling build, the ramp's going to be very, very difficult to close off in time. So you're going to need to know if it's happening and react to it as quickly as possible. Now, what Zergs really like about this map is the fact that the natural is fairly easy to take. It's a little easier than the majority of other maps because this choke is decently small and can be defended in this one area rather than having this entire wide open space like you would have on Mutalisks or Delta Quadrant. So what I'm going to be doing here is a 14 pool into 14 hatch, 13 gas. And I see that his probe is up there, and I decide to juke it by putting the drone way down here so he doesn't even see one leaving. He's trying to harass me. I really want to kill that probe so badly, but I haven't been able to catch it yet. So what I'm doing is hiding the drone just so that he doesn't block me or even see that I'm going for it in the first place. Typically, as a Protoss, though, if you don't see a pool by now, you're going to want to try to stop it. Just stop the expo. Luckily, though, I was able to drop it, droning up to 14, and then I'm going to drop my my spawning pool. Overlord placement's pretty crucial here. I feel like I did a good job with the long-term placement, but they did get killed eventually, and I'll show you when that happens. But your first Overlord has enough time before anti-air comes out against Protoss, or even against Terran, to get to a safe area on the other side of their base, so that they can't really hide anything from you. And that's really important later on when you need to suicide an Overlord in just to scout. So in the meantime, as I mentioned, there goes the spawning pool. I guess that would be a 16 gas. I kind of wanted to eke out a few more drones, just so that I had the money for it. My goal in this game was to get Mutalisks, just because Mutalisks are very, very strong. It's a pretty typical build or goal when you're fighting on Scrap Station, but hopefully we can see it work out. So anyway, we have a Cybernetics core. It's a fairly standard opening from our Protoss here, but it's going to deviate in just a moment because I guess in reaction to the fact that most Zergs will go Mutalisk on this map, he throws down a Forge in order to hide the fact that he's going to be getting Stargate tech. Now, Phoenix are awfully good against Mutas, and I think that's kind of what he's banking on. So now we've got the hatchery finished and starting to drone up as much as I can. I've seen how few units he has with my Overlord, and I know that I'm very safe to drone here. These two Zerglings that are about to pop are here to try to kill this this probe, who somehow steals another 5 minerals but doesn't get to bring it back to his base this time. So we're getting a few more drones, and one of the key facets for learning how to play Zerg, at least moving on up to a higher level, is droning as much as possible and knowing when it's safe to do so. So there are a couple things you can do. You can always be having an Overlord near his base. You can poke his front, or you can kind of get a nice general idea based on what people typically have at this point in the game. So in this case, I was able to do a little bit of the last two and send the Overlords in. But I knew that, man, it's about the 30 supply mark. Most people are making their decisions at this time. So I need to be sending this Overlord in. And as you can tell, this cannon would stop just about any sort of push while allowing him to get Stargate tech. Chrono boost it out and stop anything else that he can with just the cannon. Something that I need to be able to do better in the future is reading what's happening at the front with just these Zerglings. I had to rely on an Overlord getting sent in, which I do see the Stargate. And my initial reaction to this is not just to throw down an evolution chamber or anything ridiculous like that. It is to take my queens and make it so that I can transfer in between the two bases. I've set up Creep Tumor here and a Creep Tumor here in order to ensure that that's the case. Now, as you can see, we've got these Overlords that now get sniped by this stupid frickin' Void Ray. But what you want to do is group your queens up and make sure that everybody's close together so that they can react to any sort of aggression from any angle. And I knew that I was going Mutas, so I'm committing to it and making sure that I get my other two gases, but Luckily, the supplied block that he gave me while killing those 2 overlords, I was able to remedy. Oh, but I lose the Zergling, but I know that he's going to expand soon, so we have another overlord heading over just so I can see exactly when that goes down, when it's saturated, etc., etc., and whether or not it is protected by the cannons. And so the queens next to each other with a little bit of creep spread in between the 2 bases meant I could have had them in either location as long as I reacted quick enough. The other thing I did was, in order to ensure the fact that I was able to continue droning, I just made queens. Look, I have 2 more queens on the way, but just drones used out of my larva. This is going to really help me later on when my economy is going to need to kick in and allow me to out-macro with my opponent. So typically what happens is these extra Phoenix will be able to come in and lift up the queen, and then the Void Ray will snipe the queen, and the lagging queen from the other base won't be able to make a difference. But because I was able to overcommit, I guess not overcommit, but make a few extra queens in reaction to this, I was going to have plenty in order to stop his push. I guess even if he lifted all of my queens, it might not have been enough just because this Void Ray could have been focus fired down by the last one. So eventually, alright, here we go, he starts coming in and realizes that 3 queens is a little bit much, but he can kill the Overlord. And he's also a big jerk, but look at how close the Void Ray, oh, we almost got it. So he's getting his expansion down, and I do see it with my Overlord. He's aware that there is an expansion getting finished, but I'm waiting to see whether or not he has a nice big saturation. Luckily, this will allow me to see if I can harass with the Mutalisks, which I have committed to. As you can see, I have 8 on the way, and they were made just before I saw all of those Phoenix, so maybe that wasn't the best choice. But I didn't have a choice after I had already pressed the T button. And as I mentioned earlier, connecting your 2 bases is just step 1 of reacting to this fast Phoenix play, because the advantage that you get from being able to move your queens and the movement speed that you get from any of your other Zerg units is way, I guess, accentuated by the fact that you can see these super fast Phoenix. And almost losing, there we go. Transfusing. Something I recently have gotten a little bit better about doing is transfusing the mutas, because they are so crucial and so important. So now we're 12 mutas, I believe this is. Yeah, 12 mutas against, let's see, 5 Phoenix, now 6 Phoenix coming up on the way. And I don't want to fight this head on, and so I know that there's a little bit of a saturation here, so I decided to send my Mutalisks around the long way, as well as get a Hydra Den in order to deal with these frickin' Phoenix. But luckily, I haven't had to use my larva on anything but drones and mutas, so I have all this extra larva, all this extra money, and I was very confident in my ability to maintain any sort of macro, just because of the fact that I wasn't spamming units the entire time. Now that he sees this, though, my big worry is him going for Colossus, because Colossus would just crush me. But luckily, the Mutalisks draw the Phoenix back from his own base. And this is a point where I think it was a good idea that I decided to pick off what was left. What I should have done is probably picked off the Void Ray and then ran the heck away. Mostly because I saw all of these Phoenix just run home, and boy do Phoenix just eat apart Mutalisks. They're just crumbling in their wake. Running away, I thought it was so crucial that I kept these alive, but it was just not enough. Look at them. Look at them just pick them apart. Ugh, these don't need buffs. Anyway, so the 3rd base is up, and it's going to be saturated fairly soon here, but I'm I'm transitioning into the Hydralisk play. What this is going to allow me to do is kind of react to his Phoenix in a way that he can't instantly counter and instantly kill. Any sort of lifts that he does on my Hydras are going to be really, really useful, but just because of the fact that Hydras are light, but the fact that I have so many of them makes it much more difficult for him to try to fight off. So he doesn't quite see the fact that I'm moving the destructible rocks in the middle, and as I mentioned, the creep is so essential to this push that I'm going to do in a little bit. Again, these are a little bit late, but I didn't want to have to sit around and wait with my Hydras, and so I put down just a couple hundred minerals worth of spore crawlers up in this location. The rest of it, I kind of have my army nearby, so I know that I can react to it if need be. So with this extra creep spread that I did in order to allow my queens to react to the Protoss air, it allowed me to see that his troop movement with these Phoenix, and so yes, he's able to harass a little bit, but he's trapped and has to run away, and I don't suffer too many losses in this case. Just the vision that you're granted by all of this creep is invaluable. But oh no, he sees an unsuspecting expansion and is able to pick off every single drone sitting here. Oh man, and this Spore Crawler is a little bit late. Luckily though, I guess I'm getting Burrow. I forgot about that. So again, I'm really worried about the Colossus, and as you can tell, there it is. There's the Colossus play. He did see the fact that I was going Hydra, but I'm hoping to break in there before he's able to get that moving. It's important to make sure that your macro continues in this case, and so I hope that I'll be building a few more drones just in a little bit here. And after Hydralisks, typically what people do is they will go for a nice meaty ground gateway army backed up by robo facility units, and hopefully the roach transition will help me afterward. I'm also adding a few roaches to this play here, and bringing some of the extra queens that I had built earlier along with, just so that I can transfuse in this big battle here. And what he does is he uses all of his units to the best of their ability, lifting off the Hydralisks, but unfortunately he doesn't have any Phoenix left to kill any of the Hydras, and so these units kind of get funneled in, and then I bring the queens into the fray and start transfusing all of these Hydras in order to keep them alive just a little bit longer. And the queens and everything is assisting, and there's a lot of synergy between these units. And so I guess in the future, probably a bonus that I could have done, or maybe something that I could have done a little bit better, was macro when I had the chance. I definitely had enough money in order to do so. I should have used this opportunity to take drones even this late into the game. I feel pretty confident about my creep spread, but maybe just a little bit more down in the lower areas. Maybe securing these watchtowers would have been a better idea in order to block his vision of my movement. But I do think that he did a great job reacting to the fact that most people go Muta on this map, and I did, and it almost blew up in my face. So GG everybody, GG.